We're reacting to Destiny and Candace Owens. Let's do
it up.
Celebrate someone, and I'm using Cardi B here as an example because I think people are probably more familiar with her than they are with Sexy Red. When you put someone like that on the Grammys stage, which is again a decision being made. When I was growing up, the best, most talented people were on a Grammy stage. It was something you could watch.
Do you think Cardi B's not talented? Because that's what she's saying, right? She's essentially saying that like Hollywood or whatever other entities have a vested interest.
No, I think that's stupid.
In having her be the face or whatever rapper or something.
It's like I'm not a particular fan of most of her music. I'm not a particular fan of most of Taylor Swift's music. You know, even more so than Cardi B. Like I like Taylor Swift more, but if millions and tens of millions of people are fucking with you, you're probably doing something right. You know?
It's always a conspiracy with especially Candace Owens. Like I haven't seen enough of her content or as much as of her content as like Ben Shapiro or Steven Crowder. Or even like Michael Knowles and those guys. But it seems like most of the clips I see of her, she's always got like some kind of conspiracy talk. It's really weird.
Watch with your family. And we still had poor people. You still had, you still had poor people. You still had people that were living in the hood. Okay. We didn't need somebody talking about their vagina in order to feel seen. So what you're doing is you're setting the stage for younger girls who aspire to celebrities to say, okay, well, if I mimic that behavior, I too can become famous. What you're actually doing is you're setting the idols that people are going to look up to, and people.
There is truth in this, but it's not like a group of people that want them to like. So because like when you have a conspiracy, you have to ask like, what's the goal? Why would Hollywood or whatever want a bunch of young girls to emulate what Cardi B is doing? You know, like why? Why do you want that? I don't know if like she even has an answer for that because it's like, what do you really gain? You know.
I think all the Cardi B thing is like it's really, you know, the sexual revolution and minority women are really encouraged by institutions, but that's because there's demand for that among liberal people.
I think it's a pretty simple explanation.
They're responding to their audiences.
Like that content and they try to emulate the people that they like the most.
She just doesn't like that people like that content, and it sounds easier to say, "Oh no, it's just a bunch of billionaires like who are doing it."
Yeah,
but in reality, it's.
But there's real criticism that she could make. She could say like, "I don't like degenerate culture" or whatever or something. Yeah, she could say that, but instead now she's like this weird conspiratorial person.
She's trying to argue that it's not popular when you can prove that
it is absolutely popular. Yeah,
people are going to think this is what I should aspire to. So it's actually working in the exact opposite way.
Can I ask a question in that like evolution of things? So if we look at like WAP in particular, hasn't it generally been the case that music is always kind of pushing these sexual boundaries? So it might have been Elvis grabbing his crotch and dancing. It might have been Michael Jackson's dancing is incredibly suggestive if you've seen that. It might have been in Woodstock, all the loser hippies talking about love, sex, and rock and roll and drugs. Wouldn't like WAP just be kind of like the next evolution in a long chain of
pushing boundaries is not degeneracy? Okay. And so here's what I'll say to you. Why don't you pull up the lyric?
Wait, that's actually a good question that he asked. Yeah, it's like why is I don't know, Cardi B twerking degeneracy, but not Michael Jackson grabbing his cock?
I think that's a great point. I do think there is a difference though between twerking, obviously, and like the lyrics of WAP, which I have written a paper about. Like that is a filthy song. I don't really have an issue with that.
Yeah,
but it definitely is more sexual than those.
She's not saying consistent here. Like she's saying like WAP is degenerate, but like Michael Jackson grabbing his dick and like essentially making like a sexual noise isn't degenerate.
You know what's interesting about boundaries? Even conservatives are progressive over time. Yeah, because people had a problem with Elvis and Michael Jackson, and those were the conservatives of their time. Yeah, but conservatives don't actually want to go back to the beginning. They just want to go back to like the 70s or the 60s. They want to freeze it in that time period.
They just always want to move back maybe like 50 years.
Yeah, so and then
so it's like 2050 maybe they'll want to go back to 2000.
Yeah, 2000. And then in 2060 the conservatives will be like talking about whatever crazy shit's going on. They'll be like, when Cardi B was doing it, it wasn't that big of a deal. It wasn't like it is today.
Or if they're saying like, it's like trans people, they just wanted to be trans. Like we want like that back then. We're gonna let them do their own thing.
Yeah, but now people are merging with robots.
Yeah, exactly.
Don't like that.
That's where they're gonna go now.
Swap and read them right now.
Well, I don't. Why would I need to do that?
Oh, it's just Woodstock. We're just pushing the boundaries a little bit. You probably never even read the lyrics to WAP.
Because, I think I did because I think Ben Shapiro had a huge thing about it.
He couldn't have said. You may have seen him reading the sanitized version of WAP, not the one that is not sanitized. Like
and you actually did a whole ass paper on that.
I did. That's for philosophy of sex and love.
Everyone talked about it.
Sanitized one, which is still bad, that you can perform at the Grammys, is what he read. You should read the lyrics to WAP before you make commentary that it's a reflection of what Black Americans are living through, or it's just somebody that's pushing a boundary. It's not that.
What? I don't know if he said that. I think he just said that like I mean, you can look at that TikTok, you can look at Instagram, you can look at the culture. The culture is people are becoming more sexual. That is just what they're doing now. They like, it might be like the song might be more extreme of like what people are doing in public, but like it stands pretty consistent. Like with what we've been saying for like the last 6 minutes is the culture follows the music. Like it's not like the music is forcing the culture.
How do you explain the fact that like WAP was like a #1 like worldwide hit? Then?
Because what I said to you is that they are artificially creating artists at this point. There's no question. And by the way, the Diddy Docs.
We've never had more choice than any other point in history to choose who we listen to.
Yeah,
you know, it's just silly to say.
But one criticism,
this is your one artist that you've been getting. It's not like fucking cereal where it's in a grocery store. Oh, I guess you have to buy it. Like it's so easy to find artists.
Yeah, and I agree with that. This isn't a criticism at that point, but it's Spotify though. What do you think about like how Spotify does like curates their own playlists and sends them out to you? It's like smaller creators don't really get put on those. You know, it's like the most popular songs get sent out to you.
Yeah, but even within that framing, what do you mean by the most popular songs get put on there? How do you determine what is the popularity of the song? Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You know, they're never going to promote something that's not popular. That would just be bad business. These are capitalist companies at the end of the day. You know,
I agree.
Which I found to be a very compelling point was that Diddy said to the guy, allegedly, who was the producer, that if he was willing to engage in homosexual behavior with him, that he would get him Producer of the Year Grammy. Okay, so what does that tell you? It means that
why does it have to be? I'm sorry, I'm nitpicking everything. Why can't it just be have sex with him? Why does it have to be engage in homosexual behavior? Because like you just never say that. You never say Harvey Weinstein asked actresses to participate in heterosexual behavior with him.
It's the like inflammatory language that gets.
They just want it to sound so alien.
Yeah, they wanted to sound like that's. I mean, why do you call like an illegal immigrant or an undocumented citizen
or an alien even?
Yeah, no. Why do you not call them an undocumented citizen or something? I don't really care about the terminology, but why do you call them an illegal alien?
Yeah,
like that's an alien.
Do you think it's intentional?
Yeah, I feel like it's intentional.
Do you think that was intentional?
I think not anymore. It's not intentional there anymore, but I mean, it probably used to be intentional. And now it's just a part of our vernacular. But with the like illegal alien stuff, that like reminds me of people say like America's a democracy, and it is true. But like I think like a year ago or something, people found out that it's technically a constitutional republic, and now like people are so brain dead that they say we're not a democracy, we're a constitutional republic. Like Republicans will say that, and they'd like it more because republic's in the name and they're Republicans, and democracy has Democrat.
Yeah,
it's like,
and also
you're just picking the word
power without winning the majority of the votes.
Yeah, it's just you're picking the words that like sound better to you. Like they could mean the same thing. They're almost synonymous, but you'd rather say illegal alien instead of undocumented immigrant or something.
The entire system is artificial. And by the way, this is something that Kanye said 10 years ago, or however long ago it was, when he took the trophy from Taylor Swift and said, like, this is all fake. This is not even based on merit anymore. And that is my point. The industry.
See, that's actually such a great point that she brings up there. And I originally was going to make fun of her for this, but when one of her case studies is Kanye West, you kind of gotta agree with what she's saying. You know, Kanye went up and said that it's all fake.
Yeah.
You know, he's one of the most sane people there is. Exactly, and he never talks about conspiracies.
Also, if I'm sure if you asked her, is Kanye hated by the establishment? Do people want to cancel and censor him? I'm pretty sure he's one of the top 7 or 8 best-selling music artists of all time.
Yeah.
Like,
well, it's also like even now, for instance, like
even within her horrible example, she broke her own argument.
That's what I mean. Also, especially now, you would think that the institution wouldn't want current Kanye to be making music and putting music out there. So in turn, because apparently the institution is so powerful that it can tell the masses what to do, but people are still listening to Kanye on mass amounts because people like Kanye. Yeah. So like, does the institution have no power in certain areas and then have extreme power in other areas? Like that doesn't really make sense, you know.
Industry is not based on merit. It's not based on capitalism. It is based on selling ideas. So it is, who do we want to artificially make the person that every Black girl will look up to or who they will aspire to? And
so I can definitely understand that, like, maybe award shows can be rigged or people can think different things about, you know, who's being awarded based on merits for the Grammys or something like that. But like, what was genuinely, do you think it wasn't genuinely a popular song, or do you think that music execs have the ability to manufacture that desire publicly?
The latter. So if you start playing something tons of times on the airways, and the latter, you can definitely make something popular. There are songs that I don't even like that I've heard so much that I know every single lyric to. And I'm like, I don't even know how I know every single lyric to the song, but it's just been.
This may be true for an artist like first release where you can pump it out there. There are industry plants, but if you've been around as long as Cardi B, who I think Bodak Yellow came out in like 2017, You don't stay relevant for 7 years based on purely artificial maintenance.
It's received this many plays, you put it everywhere, you award the person, you invite them to bizarre circumstance. Like, there's absolutely no reason that Cardi B is invited to sit down and ask questions to Joe Biden.
So
in no scenario, unless you are really making an effort to legitimize this person and to make this person aspirational. Again, this is not an insult to Cardi. I actually think that personality-wise, she's got a ton of talent and she's interesting. And I've said great things about her on Love and Hip Hop, and there are elements of her that make her a star. But what I am saying is that a lot of that is manufactured, and I just don't see how anybody, when looking.
How can you say that you credit her on a bunch of this stuff, but then say that also the stuff I credit her on is manufactured? Doesn't really make sense.
Yeah. Don't you think it's entirely possible or easily possible? So like, I feel like there's like so many things wrong with this. So one is, why wouldn't competing record labels start pushing talent that's actually popular that people want to hear? I think that would be a big question. The second thing would be, how can we explain the top-down domination of this type of media popularity through all of our reality TV shows, all of our TikTok stuff, all of our YouTube videos, and the music industry? And then how can you explain that all happening worldwide?
Sure.
Like, it feels like that to try to explain this through through people that are exercising control on these platforms would require more control than anybody has ever been able to exercise on any platform ever. And they're doing it like on a multi-country, multi-stage
it's just called, it's very easy. Actually, it's a very basic concept pertaining to governments. They need propaganda. Hollywood is propaganda. You should, for those of you that are watching this live, go listen to the conversation that Joe Rogan had with Cat Williams, where he talked about all of this. And he said, I know you think that you're being entertained. And this is somebody that comes from inside of the industry. And he starts talking about
whatever she's going to go on to say. Here's the thing. Like, in a purely apolitical way, I agree with a lot of these criticisms, about like how entertainment's really bad and promotes a lot of bad ideas. People get sucked into watching it constantly. I agree with all of that. But where I disagree is that is not a product of what we want. We want that. And I think we should change that.
Yeah,
but it has nothing to do with some sort of conspiracy, Yeah.
Because also, like, at the end of the day, the question still remains is, what is the goal of these institutions, right? Why do they want people? If the conspiracy is true, why do they want people to be degenerate or whatever it might be? Like, wouldn't you rather have more productive workers in an economy if it's like, so they can't be economic institutions?
Yeah.
Like, so wouldn't you rather have like generally more productivity if like degeneracy is anti-productivity? Like, how does that benefit your society? Like, you'll have less money to give to the wealthy people now?
It's just, it doesn't really make sense.
The Diddy stuff, the idea that in order to climb higher, you kind of have to engage in nefarious behavior, and how he was collecting all of this information and he was speaking out about what was happening inside of the industry. And he said it is twofold. You might be being entertained, but they are making decisions about what will entertain you. And a great circumstance in which he presented that as evidence of that is transgenderism. And he asked hold on. Okay. He asked a question which should be answered. He said to Joe Rogan, and he laughed about it. He was like, a guy wears a dress on the red carpet. Okay. And then the media tells you how great he wore the dress. And he's like, he said, tell me one situation where he didn't wear the dress wonderfully, when he didn't wear the dress in a way that was amazing. It's because they have all agreed that this is the narrative.
Great. So I think I'll be a little controversial here. I think this is a way stronger application of what she's saying around conspiracy, where the trans thing kind of has been forced in some ways.
Yes.
I don't think it's necessarily bad in a lot of cases. It does feel like people are terrified of breaking from this general thing, but it's hard to determine if it's what powerful people want or if it's what people want.
Yeah, that is like one thing. It's like, Cardi B music is listened to by the millions, right?
Yeah.
But I think majority of America still is like undecided on the trans issue, or just outright doesn't believe it's even a real thing. Yeah. It's like, that does more feel like a Trojan horse for like some kind of control that they could be using. Like, it's definitely not WAP. It's definitely not like music industry.
Yeah, because just the way people respond to this stuff, like, people enjoy listening to music. That's the only reason you would listen to music, know. But like, there seems to be more reticence with people with the trans stuff. Not to say that it's necessarily bad. It just feels somewhat forced.
Yeah, but also, like, even at the same time, like the fear that people on the right have about trans issues is massively overblown. It's like, I don't know, like, what percent of the population of America is trans. I think it's less than like 1%, maybe. Like, this group of people that makes up less than like a city isn't really affecting you that much. Definitely overblown.
And then he
pause it. Yeah.
Let's get our balls sucked.
All right. This is going to be a part of it because I'm not cutting out the middle. So you just want your balls.
You're not cutting out the middle?
I can't cut out the middle.
On YouTube, you can.
talked about the fact that the record execs also own the publications that are saying that something is amazing or something is not amazing. And that is just plain old fashioned propaganda. So you don't necessarily need to detach what we're talking about from your concept of what governments are interested in. It's always propaganda.
So I understand Cat Williams has said this. I also understand that Cat Williams was at one point in his life addicted to crack, and I think he's famous for losing a fight to a high school kid. I think it was like benched his career for a while.
Okay, you can insult him, but it doesn't.
I'm not insulting. I'm just saying that
2 + 2 = 4.
Well, he is insulting him.
He has just awful posture. Or like, why is that chair so much taller?
That chair is much taller, and he probably has bad posture.
It's just making him look like he's a midget.
Also, I think they might be the same height. I'm pretty sure he's like.
I would imagine.
Isn't he like 5'8"?
Yeah,
+2 = 4.
I'm not insulting him. I'm just saying that to like lean into his testimony, who also we would both acknowledge has a lot to gain by giving like incredulous testimony like this, like saying like, oh my God, these crazy things are happening, right? I don't know if I would just say, well, right, he does. You're the fact that you're.
What?
I just hear her face there. It's like, yeah, of course people have an incentive to.
Oh, she's like, oh, her face of thinking that what he said isn't true.
Yeah. Talking about him and you're citing him and you know it, right? If anybody else was saying a similar thing, we'd say, well, okay, they're saying this because they have.
Also, I don't want to derail this too much, but I had a thought before we took a break here that I think when you're talking to a conservative, you should ask them, hey, if they're going on a rant about gay marriage or trans people, do you support gay marriage? Do you think people should be allowed to be trans? They're talking about what was the other thing? Talking about illegal immigration. Ask them, hey, if someone comes here legally and they're Mexican, is that okay?
Legally?
Yeah. Because like if they dodge those questions, because so much of this is smokescreen, where they talk about how transgenderism hurts kids, they'll talk about illegal immigration, but really they just want to get rid of the whole thing. Just get to the core and see what they say.
Oh, Michael Knowles does want to. He wants it to be eradicated.
Yeah. Would you call that a genocide?
Unless they're actually going and killing them, no.
Yeah.
Something to gain for it, right? He knows that this is going to be a hot take, and he knows that it's going to go viral if he says it, and he knows he's going to get a lot of eyes on him for it. So I think it's good to call that into question.
Yeah, dude, this is like a really good example of like, you can be so conspiratorial brain, but in this moment of like, they probably say follow the money. They probably say like follow people in power, like do shit or whatever. In this moment right now, he has things to gain from giving this message. Her face is like, what?
Yeah.
There's just, are you stupid? You're contrarian.
It's just bias, yeah.
Like that is the most clear cut. Like in terms of conspiracy, what does this person have to gain? This from giving that take. That's like the most simple way to answer it. And it's like, there's no way.
And it doesn't even mean he has to be right. It's just once you enter the world of applying conspiracy to shit, you have to be consistent with everyone's incentive structure.
Yeah.
I think the issue that I have when it comes to the accusation that everything is some top-down level propaganda is I feel like the conversation shifts away from the important stuff, which is why are people attracted to this type of stuff? Why do people vibe with it so much? Why are we replacing traditional better forms of media or more thought-provoking, I don't know what you would call it, forms of media with this type of stuff? Instead of having conversations about the culture and the society, it's all fixated on some weird top-down plot to like control media consumption.
I think you just like to be contrarian because I don't understand the point that you're making here. Like, of course.
Wait, hold on, wait. Let me restate that. I'm sorry. The point I'm making is very clear. If I was going to I've got a almost 13-year-old son in a few days. Okay, if I was to see that he's consuming media, my go-to would be
wait, like what conversation do you think she was going into?
I don't know. I'm really interested in what he has to say.
Like, hey, Nathan, why are you watching this? This is crazy. We need to look at something else. I need to like, who are your friends? What are you looking at online? Like, we need to change our media consumption habits because this isn't working. I would never think like, I think that the school is involved in disseminating media towards him, and there's no way that we can change this because I feel like on your side of the story, people are basically like, we're hopeless. There's nothing we can do.
No, it's not hopeless, but if you want to be able to do something about something, you need to be able to acknowledge the something, right?
Well, what was the thing
you can't make it it's a conspiracy. It's like, no, when I graduated high school, there wasn't a single trans kid. Now you've got like more than 50% of kids that think that they're other. Like that is obviously propaganda, clearly.
So
it's just not possible that you didn't exist. Maybe there was one person, and then all of a sudden everyone is.
Sure, I think it's okay to
that can only happen. That can only happen.
How do you divide that up?
Divide what up?
The surge in trans people.
How
much of it do you think is people feeling okay to come out versus social contagion?
Well,
I think you'd agree they're both present.
Yeah, I think it depends on like what your definition of trans is. Right?
Like people, just young people who identify as the other gender or as non-binary.
Is non-binary trans?
Yeah, because
you're transitioning. Yeah. That's what I thought it was as well, but I heard someone give a different take one time. I don't know. Here's the real thing: is like trans people have existed for like a millennias, right? Like have been around. It's just and. Like the question is like who's saying they're trans and not really doing any of the things that a typical trans person would do, like seeking like hormone replacement or seeking like irreversible surgery. Like those things are really relatively consistent with a person who doesn't identify with the body that they're in.
Could be mentally ill people.
Yeah. So it's like the question is, who do we consider trans, right? Because like if we think that trans people do exist and we know that trans people don't align with the body that they're in, then that would mean people who just say they're trans but just walk around daily, are they actually trans? That's the question, right? So I think there's a lot more trans people that have come out as trans and feel comfortable being trans, but I think there's also, just like how we see like 25% of women our age are like what's it called? When you're into both. Bisexual.
I'm bi-winning.
That's what I mean. It's like,
you seen the Charlie Sheen clip?
No.
Where they say you're bipolar, and he's like, "What does that mean?" I'm bi-winning. I win here and I win there. I win everywhere.
That's pretty sick. But it's just like, like, yes, there's things that get inflated based on the culture, and of course
happen through propaganda, right? They're suddenly being told it's an option. They're kids, right? You want to experiment, you want to be different. You're
like the classic left-handed argument. Like people used to be taught a while ago that there's no such thing as being left-handed. They were taught to be right-handed. Once they acknowledged that left-handed people exist, left-handed people shot up like crazy.
Yeah.
Obviously, the question that you're asking is like, how do you know which ones are which? How do you know that it's actual trans people that feel comfortable being trans, or just people that, I don't know, for whatever reason are claiming to be trans?
Looking for a way to stand out. And so you hold on, and in the classrooms, you've got teachers that are reinforcing this narrative that is, yes, top down, right? It's like Hollywood in lockstep with the Department of Education that is making these options available. If it was natural, when I graduated high school, there were gay kids. There were lesbian kids. There wasn't a ton of them. It wasn't an identity. That's another thing. The identity thing is very new.
Interesting thing. I agree for sure.
And so it shows you, who are they emulating? Who are they?
You know what I'd really like? I'd really like to ask her, it's like, do you think that it's hard to be a conservative on campus? But answer for her. What do you think?
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Why do you think it's hard to be a conservative?
Because everything around you is liberal. So
do you think that there's a good chance that there's a lot of people that are conservative that don't feel like they can be publicly conservative?
Yeah.
So how do you know that wasn't the case for like gay people 30 years ago on campus?
You're talking about a political ideology. What I'm talking about is cutting off children's genitals.
That's what I mean. So
that's a really good argument. Yeah.
Copying when they do this stuff because it's an option. It's just being presented to you. It's obviously not natural if it didn't exist naturally. And
I agree, but culture is a very complicated thing.
Culture is not a complicated thing.
So complicated.
I think the counter argument to that would be, though, if conservatism did become way more popular, those conservatives would be more comfortable sharing their views. Would there also be people who are latching on, who are not affiliated, but they're like, oh, this is a thing?
There would be.
Yeah,
absolutely. I agree.
They are deciding
the amount of control over culture that you
like to rebut, that doesn't change the fact that there's still more people that would feel comfortable being conservative.
Yeah, and also at the same time, I think it's a lot easier to say, "Hey, I'm going to say a political view that I don't agree with," versus I'm going to have sex with someone I don't have sex with.
Yeah, exactly.
Some shit is kind of immutable. You know?
I think they do. There's no shot that anybody would be able to top down control.
Well, like I said, there have been a lot of evidence that has come out, whether you're looking at the Jeffrey Epstein case or you're reading through the 72-page document for the Diddy lawsuit that suggests that the government is involved.
Even on the Jeffrey Epstein case, like what's suggesting government involvement here?
What do you mean? What do you mean what's suggesting?
Like what part of the Jeffrey Epstein case is like, oh my God, the government is like playing a part in this?
Well, the fact that he had ties to the Mossad and the CIA, and that when they raided his home, he had his face and about, what was it, 6?
I really just wanted to ask, like, what ties?
Yeah.
Different passports. Who can issue passports?
Sure, but when we look at
who can issue you a different identity?
I don't know about different identities, but for passports, I imagine you can get that illegally, or you can just get it from countries depending on citizenship status. But what I'm saying is that, like, for when we look at Epstein, right?
Destiny isn't like being rude at all, right? But he is making a lot of what she says seem really dumb, and I think that's a big reason why, like, a lot of people on the right sometimes, like, not big people on the big pundits on the right won't talk to Destiny, because I think that happens for sure. Like, that's why I was really impressed that Ben Shapiro did it. I don't think Steven Crowder would. I don't think Michael Knowles would.
Well, I think Ben Shapiro is genuinely more open-minded than most of these people.
Yes, that, and also I think he's a lot smarter, so he can weasel out of difficult scenarios.
That too, yeah.
Because that's what he did in the Lex Friedman one. He was able to like pull focus away from. Like,
he does what Destiny does too. Like he has a show called like Ben Shapiro like Sunday Special, where every Sunday he has a different person on. He's brought on like so many liberal people on that show, and he talks to them, and he's trying to understand them.
And I think he's like, okay, so it's like Ben Shapiro kind of laid the groundwork for like conservative pundits today, right? Like he was kind of the first big one. Well, like not
in
like
the internet space.
In the, like like the YouTube space. Yeah. But then like you have people like Michael Knowles who kind of like ride the wave of what the masses are thinking.
And he's
right
one
now.
of like the worst people.
And then he just like throws out like the trans eradication. They're trying to indoctrinate your kids. Look, I don't know. Like, I feel like Ben probably did a lot of thinking on his own, came to like some conclusions, some of which we disagree with. And then now, like, you just have people, Michael Knowles, who's able to like ride the wave.
And you know what's funny about?
And they didn't have to think at all.
You know what's funny about all these people? Since she's shitting on Hollywood, they're all failed Hollywood people.
Yeah.
Like Steven Crowder was on fucking Arthur, and then he tried to be an actor.
Tried to be a comedian.
Shout out to that podcast, by the way.
Tried to be a comedian as well.
Tried to be a comedian. Shapiro tried to be a screenwriter and failed. Knowles tried to be an actor and failed.
And now, was a part of like a gay sex scene.
Yeah, and I heard that he was a gay character in something. I didn't research that too much, but like they're all.
Does that mean at that time that he was a part of like the Hollywood indoctrination?
I think part of it genuinely is just they tried to be in Hollywood, they failed. Now they hate Hollywood.
Yeah, that might be a little bit of part of it. Yeah, but yeah, I agree.
Epstein was a billionaire, right?
Why was he a billionaire?
Why? Because of trading or whatever he did. I'm not really sure.
No, that's the question. Nobody knows why.
I don't know why.
Yeah,
but there's like $1 million. Sure. There's lots of people where I don't know how they made their money, but to fill in the gaps of all of this.
Do you think like purely in this argument right now? Okay, so he doesn't know how Epstein made his money. Do you think right now it would do him good to search up how he made his money, and then like that would come up with a bunch of good stuff, or do you think he's not?
Do you think it's not relevant? And if she was smarter, she'd be like, oh, well, she'd say some bogus thing about it. Oh, he got these government contracts, and then he'd have to look it up. But like, as long as
no, but I'm purely saying, like, do you think the thought came into his mind that helping my argument would be like proving how he made his money? Like, it wasn't some weird, like power government thing.
I think it'd be cool if he was like, hey, let's research this together.
Do you think he's asked himself that question, and is now saying like, if he searches that up and something comes out, and like something that while they search up is bad?
I don't think he asserts stuff without being pretty sure that he's right.
Okay.
It's with some.
No, you should always know how somebody became a billionaire. That's like a very easy thing. Like somebody should just be like, I became a billionaire, and you have no idea how. Like,
I'm sure there are tons of people.
It's like I sold a product. You know why Elon Musk has money. You know why Jeff Bezos has money. You should not say we can't connect the dots on how this person became a billionaire that was able to.
Filings aren't always going to be public. That's like, oh well, I can figure out exactly why this person became a billionaire. If they don't work in like public traded companies or something, how will you ever know? There's no way you're going to know that.
He did.
Then what's the question?
It's not a question. It's just nobody understands why Jeffrey Epstein or his brother have billions of dollars.
Well, you just said did he have a ton of shares in publicly traded companies?
What do you mean? Did he have a ton?
Like when we ask, for instance, like, so here's a question: do you know?
That was like a really simple question.
Yeah.
Did he have shares in publicly traded companies?
That's why this is just—it's almost like art. It's just dodging.
Or she does not. She legitimately does not.
I don't
know.
think so. I think she's dodging.
Do you think she's looked into how he made his money, or do you think it's more convenient for her to say like no one knows how he made his money?
That. Yeah.
She might not.
She might know. She might not. But she knows what she has to argue.
Yeah.
I don't know how Jeff Bezos made his money or how Elon Musk made his money.
I know that Jeff Bezos created Amazon, and I know that Elon Musk has created a ton of things. Tesla, you got Starlink.
Okay, kind of. So not really. Bezos made his money because of the appreciation of shares of Amazon that he had a huge stake in, right? And Elon Musk made a lot of his money. Initially, it was on PayPal and a couple of ventures, and then because he had a huge equity stake in SpaceX and Tesla, especially, that's where they made their money. Is ownership of stock of publicly traded companies. That's what I'm saying. We can look at those people. We can say we know how they made their money. So I don't think Epstein had massive shares in publicly traded companies, did he? So he wouldn't have made.
Did you actually look into the Epstein case, or are you just because I can't tell right now if your thing is just?
Oh man, she's using the contrarian thing again. Like lists off a bunch of pretty fair things, like you make money when your stock share appreciates, and then she says, "Are you trying to be contrarian right now?" You know,
contrarian.
Okay, hold on.
No, I'm being serious. No, I'm asking you because it seems like you're just like whatever your position is. I'm gonna take the opposite, and I'm gonna say something really quickly and try to say, "Well, how do we know?" And it's like that's actually quite boring.
Sure,
you know what I mean? Like it's like, dude.
Oh, I hate when people say that. Sorry, Mom, if you watch this. Sometimes I'll be arguing with my mom, and she'll say like, "This is boring," and it's almost always after I think I made a pretty good point. And it's always like, this is boring.
Yeah.
Like,
no, that used to happen to me a lot. Like people would leave conversations when I started winning.
Yeah.
And it annoyed me. But then at some point it was kind of just like, what do I care more about, winning this conversation? Or like, if someone says that, they clearly don't want to be having the conversation.
Yeah.
So like if your mom says that,
I know.
Whatever.
Yeah, exactly.
But how the fuck can her entire job is doing this?
Yeah.
Like,
I don't. In my personal life, I don't care if people want to leave conversation now anymore. Like if we're arguing, even if it gets heated.
Some people just don't like to argue.
It's just like, fine. We're done now. I used to not be that way, but it's like the one thing I'm pointing out though is just like when you just say like this is boring, it's more often that you didn't like what the other person just said.
Yeah,
was what it feels like for me.
Like let's actually have a real conversation because tons of stuff is happening right now. A lot of stuff is being exposed, right? Mm-hmm. People are for the first time able to grasp.
Tons of things are happening right now.
True.
A lot is being exposed.
Yeah.
Anyone on any platform ever could probably say that sentence.
Yeah.
A theory
really nuanced of her.
That finally makes sense, right? It finally makes sense. It makes sense that there is a black male ring operating in DC, because we don't understand why we keep sending our politicians to DC, and then it's like they completely serve anybody other than the American people, right? So when that Jeffrey Epstein case got exposed, and if you were following it and reading the documents,
this is actually unfortunate for her because I don't know if she knows, but Destiny spent like, I think it was like a day and a half just reading the Jeffrey Epstein report.
You think that'd be a fun job? Just like research stuff all day and then debate people.
That's literally what he does.
I know. Yeah, didn't that be enjoyable if you did that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
What do you mean?
I read the entire document, the 80-page report that came out from the government, did a report on the prison where he supposedly got killed.
And you're realizing how many artists.
My understanding is Shapiro does that too, because I saw him on Lex Friedman, and he asked him like take him through his week.
Yeah,
he reads like every newspaper in the morning.
Did he read all the Trump indictments?
I think he did. Yeah, like he reads like all. Like,
I wonder how that went.
Come out, and he reads like 3 to 5 books a week. He said.
I believe that. Like it sounds really.
I have a lot more respect for someone who does that than for someone who
for sure
doesn't do that.
That's like goes back to like what I was saying earlier. It's like Ben Shapiro did the work to become to be at the forefront of YouTube conservative commentary.
I think you could.
And now other people just ride his ass.
You could arrive at 90% of Shapiro's conclusions and not be a delusional liar. You know, you might just have different principles.
Yes.
Some of the shit is pretty shady.
Or you just saw certain information. Like that's why I don't like to call people stupid anymore, unless like I'm getting mad or something. That's why I like to call people misinformed.
Have stood up and said this exact same thing was going on. Now you have somebody that's filed something with proof saying it's going on, and then you just have like a Destiny being like, "Oh, what if it's not going on? What if it's not?
Okay, well, sure. So here's like,
oh, maybe Bob was just really just out of because he loved talking about vaginas and like mopping the floor." It's like you can do that.
Love talking about vaginas and mopping the floor. Pretty good.
But it's not interesting. You know what I mean?
Okay, sure. All right. Like, here's just an easy test question so I can get my bearings straight. What do you think about the?
I do. There's one thing about Destiny, because I just know his content so fucking well. I am a little bit annoyed that he's so like conciliatory nowadays and not as standoffish, because you can see how fucking calculated it is.
What do you mean? Like
when he's trying to like, I'm trying to. He's thinking in his head, how do I calm this down? How do I ask questions? And it's almost like disrespectful. Like.
It also might just because they're in person.
I just feel like he thinks that's possible too, actually. Yeah.
I think the being in person thing is really big. But also I do think, yes, that is true. But I think just a consequence of him getting bigger is he has to be more polite so he can reach more people.
It's a good strategy. But as soon as it becomes obvious it's a strategy, it becomes a terrible strategy.
I don't know if it's obvious for people yet. Yeah.
It's obvious for me. I see you fucking Steven. Way to go, Miles.
The 91 or so indictments for Donald Trump.
What do you mean?
Do you think that those are credible indictments and have credible evidence behind them?
Well, speak to me specifically about which indictment you're talking
about.
So
the Mar-a-Lago case.
I actually haven't followed that one, so I'm not going to push back on that one. But I can tell you the ones that I have followed and I've given an answer on. Like, obviously, we've never seen the media or the justice system go after any president in the way that
doesn't matter. You could say the same about P. Diddy. You've never seen the media go after a black artist.
I didn't say it did. It didn't. I didn't finish my statement. Why are you saying it doesn't matter? Why did you say that?
It could be that nobody's ever done something this.
But I haven't. Before. You're so contrarian that you haven't even let me finish.
You haven't
even let me finish my sentence. You said that doesn't matter. It's like, what do you?
Because you gave a point that was irrelevant.
I know, but like, I don't understand what you're objecting to.
You said the media has never gone after somebody like this before.
You asked me a question. I started to answer it by saying the media has never gone after anyone like this before.
So meta.
And then you just said it doesn't matter. It's like, can I answer the question? Like, or you just gotta like contradict right away?
I'm not contradicting. I'm just fighting the crazy narratives that prevent anybody from having a real analysis of any of the things going on. But you can lay your whole thing about.
All right, then since you know my narrative, even though you asked the question, I wasn't able to answer it.
You can answer
the question. That you defeat the narrative. No, we're good. We're good. I'm not going to have you ask. I'm not going to actually have you ask.
You got what you wanted. Like, obviously, you guys are going back and forth. Do what you wanted. You wanted to lay out your narrative. Lay it out.
Ask a question and then cut me off and say that I'm parroting a narrative when I haven't even told you what my opinion was.
Well, now he's doing it. Now he's getting in the mud.
Yeah. No. At first, I was like, okay, maybe she's making a good point. Maybe he should be less of a dick. And when he talks to people outside of the echo chamber, that becomes clear. But it seems clear that she's just dodging, and this is her creative way of escaping.
Yeah.
That's not you being interesting. That's you being obnoxious.
I think that you're trying to avoid answering the question.
By being cut off by you?
I said you can finish it if you want.
You're trying to avoid answering the question. Quite literally, I was trying to answer the question and you cut me off. So
you say go ahead.
We're good on that.
Stop arguing. Just say Steven has to just stop arguing and go ahead. Also, that's fucking argue Destiny face. Look at that. He's like, yeah.
Maybe you can move the cursor. That's
I can't do that. Yeah. I was trying to like point with my finger, like, look, that's him.
We can move on and talk about something other than Trump and his.
Oh, we can move on and not talk about Trump. I wonder why.
95.
He's one of the most indefensible presidents of all time. Not one of the most.
5 indictments.
Yeah, except for those first 15 guys who supported literal chattel slavery of black people.
They're a product of their time.
Maybe Trump is too. You ever think about that?
Yeah, doesn't mean that I don't think that what they did was wrong and what he's doing.
I do think it's goofy when people say Trump's the worst president of all time. It's like you realize the first 15 presidents didn't think black people should be humans.
Worst president. Okay, but it's also different. Like, do you think back then you would have said they're the worst president of the time? Probably not. You probably would have agreed with them.
I don't know if I probably. It depends on what like by the time it got closer to Lincoln, there's
I would say probably. I'm okay with saying probably.
Probably what?
Probably would have been okay with what their stances were.
You don't think that we're generally more liberal than the era?
Currently?
Yeah.
More liberal than our current era?
Yeah.
I think we're pretty in the middle.
Okay. I think that in 1780,
I'm just saying, I agree. Yes.
But maybe in like 1845.
I totally agree. The first 15 presidents of the United States, worse than
first
Trump.
30 presidents didn't think that women should be able to vote.
Obviously worse than right now.
Yeah.
Yes. But right now, like based on the times, Trump has done things that are more outside the norm of the current time than of people in that time.
All right. I will agree with you if you can name 10 U.S. presidents.
All right, let me try.
Because otherwise,
George Washington, Richard Nixon, Bill Clinton, George Bush, Donald Trump, Barack Obama, Joe Biden, Lyndon B. Johnson, Winston Churchill.
Oh,
man. No, I'm joking. I'm joking. I have two left. Abraham Lincoln.
All right.
And Boris Johnson's UK. No.
Yeah.
Yeah?
Yeah.
Okay, I thought that was an American one. Okay,
Okay, so you know 9 presidents.
Let me get one more. Let me get one more.
46 presidents.
Let me get one more.
You got to watch some history.
Okay, here. Okay, I can't name the 10th one.
There are ones you should know also.
Let me. George W. Bush.
JFK.
Okay, yeah, I could have said JFK, sure.
FDR.
Okay, stop. Let me think of another one. George Bush Sr.
Yeah, there's one.
There you go. So nice. I named the 10.
Reagan.
So do you lose?
Yeah. Trump's the worst president.
Yeah, there you go. But okay,
Reagan was a horrible president. I will say that.
Okay, that might be true.
Yeah.
It's 91 or 92.
Okay.
Okay. Well, what do we talk about that won't get you as triggered?
Okay. I just honestly, like I said to you in the beginning of this, I said I am an open book. I'm just curious
what you think about the Trump indictments. Do you think that a civil suit that's filed where there isn't a grand jury that looks over it, there's not like it's not like a DA case, it's not like a federal prosecutor. Do you think that the Diddy stuff is like rock solid? Do you think that's really, really, really important to look at? But then when we look at indictments that have gone to grand juries that have then issued warrants or subpoenas or whatever, I was just curious if you think that the credibility on that side is as heavy as the P. Diddy stuff.
I was really happy to answer that question. Would you like me to answer it?
Sure.
So I would say that you are comparing two cases that are not similar, and I'll tell you why they aren't similar. In the case of Diddy, you have somebody that has no power that is filing this and producing.
Also, anyone watching, comment down what's one Diddy song. I don't know. I think there's one where it's like the Mac Miller sampled it. It's like, we ain't going nowhere. We ain't going nowhere. And we can't be stopped now. Cause it's bad boy for life. We ain't
bad boys for life.
Yeah, you know that one?
Yeah, I've heard of it.
But other than that, who the fuck is Diddy?
It's okay. You're talking to one person and it's just me.
Evidence to say that the justice, essentially the same thing that people that defend Trump are saying, the justice system is corrupt, right? That these people are responding and being motivated by things like the LAPD's involvement that night in writing a fake police report, if his allegations are true, and he had photos and said that he was the person that said call 911, and then seeing the media report on it and lie about what happened.
Yo, the right and the left are way too obsessed with corruption and conspiracies. I do think the Destiny wing of like the center left has gone a little too far, and it's like, yeah, sometimes there is corruption, and we should be aware that exists sometimes. It's fringe, but it happens. Just because someone says there's corruption.
He says he's an institutional shill.
I heard him the other day say something about like there's been no insider trading proven in Congress. It's like there have been
proven.
Yeah, there have been cases of that in the last 20 years have been proven.
Okay.
I mean,
I'd be surprised if he said that.
Like 2 to 3.
I would imagine he would know.
Congress members get fucking arrested like every 10 years or so, you know.
Yeah.
It happens when people have power. It happens. It's not like it never happens.
Sure.
Like,
the difference is like conspiracy on that level, yes, probably, maybe conspiracy to hold on to power, maybe conspiracy to stay in office longer, whatever it might be, but conspiracy to like brainwash the nation,
no, like
that's kids,
that's crazy.
That's the crazy stuff, and that's the only conspiracy that people on the right talk about, and the only conspiracy that people on the left talk about, or farther left, is that like there's like that Trump's a white supremacist and that there's like that I don't know, something like along those lines, you know, which is I probably should know if I'm going to say that though.
Happened at that studio is very scary.
That's
scary. If unless he faked these blood photos, which is a plausibility,
but it shows you can't change it now.
I feel like I couldn't give you 5 prime ministers though.
You couldn't? Yeah, I don't know if
Trudeau, Harper, Mulrooney. Who's the fucker on the bill? Edwin something or... No, I got 4. That's it.
It's more than me.
There are people that are sitting at the top that have a ton of power, right? So the people that are...
I bet I could beat you in geography, though.
We should do that on the show sometime.
We can.
Acknowledging that, and then also saying that those same people, that same network of...
we could literally just do it right on here whenever we want.
Individuals that can make up allegations and make them go away with the media or stay and make it a big deal because of the media are defending Trump and what's happening to him. So this isn't, they're actually, these two things are not at conflict with one another, what's happening with Diddy and what's happening with Trump. It's actually, they complement one another in terms of what we're saying. Now, the only case, I followed 2 of them, the Fannie Willis one.
Well, can I ask a question about the LAPD thing?
Yeah.
So if we're worried because in the P. Diddy case, it looks like the LAPD at the very top might have been involved with something. If that's the claim, I mean, isn't Donald Trump at the very, very, very top? If he's the president, isn't he literally like the top guy in the world?
He doesn't control the courts, and that's, I mean, hold on. The point of exactly being is that if they feel that they have a person that they cannot control, so if there is this blackmail ring that exists, and it's starting to look like there is definitively, and I very much believe that, and I am not ashamed to say.
The first time she said that, like a little while ago, she was talking about like there's a blackmail ring in Washington, D.C. I thought it was black male.
No, that's the joke I made. I was like, she's talking about the Obama administration.
Oh, you did make that joke. Okay.
It is pretty much the only thing that makes sense in Hollywood is what I read in these documents. Then it would be clear as to why it is that when you are...
Wait, so she's saying that I read the indictments, but because the courts are corrupt, I don't believe them.
Yeah, because nothing can break the worldview because they're in a cult.
Yeah. Okay. Good to know.
Existing outside of the ring, or you are somebody that cannot be controlled. You are somebody that is attacked.
You know, it'd be really funny if just like, I don't know, a bunch of police were like really trying to like hold on to Trump and like not let him be president or something. He's just like really trying really hard to get through to like go like be inaugurated. And he's like, I want to save the country.
That is random as fuck. That would be really funny.
Just thinking, just like he's talking about like they can't control him.
Yo, can I ask you a question?
Yeah. Say
that for whatever reason you found yourself.
Well, but it would just be so funny if he was really this altruistic person. He's like,
yeah,
there's killing our people. They're coming from the border.
Well, do you think he buys his own bullshit?
Maybe a little bit, but he knows absolutely what he's doing. Like that's actually the something you can point to. Like he's a businessman. Know what he's doing because he's a businessman. I think he knows how to play.
Is he going to see now too?
He's 77.
I think he's almost as much of a puppet as Biden is in terms of like he's just an old fucking guy that.
I think the dementia's pretty. Dementia. I don't know if either of them have it, but if we're gonna say for the sake of argument, both of them have it. His dementia isn't that far away from Biden's. Like Biden's State of the Union press was really fucking good,
and I've been seeing.
It just so happens that over the last 4 years, you've been able to see a lot of times when an 81-year-old has fucked up a speech. Like I fuck up, I stutter every now and then. I misspeak.
Yeah, but dude, Biden has fucking dementia.
No, I know, but I'm just saying.
I've been seeing conservatives say more often lately, like, dude, I don't even hate Biden anymore. Like, I really feel sad for him.
Well, that's the new narrative. Like, that's how you feel better. Like, you don't feel sad for old men running the country.
But part of me kind of is just like, man, it would be nice if like Gavin Newsom or somebody could kind of take the reins over and Biden could go.
Most
like,
of me is thinking that like, how embarrassing is it for Trump that Biden's doing a better job?
It's humiliating. I just think I would be nice if Biden could just go hang out with his grandkids and somebody else could be president.
That's actually something that is unfortunate. He did talk about like he does not want to run again. He has to run again now.
Yeah, because he has to save the country.
He literally said, "I'm going to run because I need to like."
Like we're putting the fate of democracy on the shoulders of this 81-year-old guy with dementia who's been in public service for 50 years.
I know. I feel bad for him. Like it's like he's actually had a relatively he's had a pretty sad life though. Like didn't his first wife die or something?
His wife and his son and his daughter all died in a car crash.
All died in a car crash. And like his other son, he's like addicted to crack or whatever.
Yeah, no, for real. There's one thing I respect about Trump personally, and one thing about Biden. And for Biden, it's that. And
the one thing for me
for Trump has been sober his entire life. He never drinks. Is
that true?
He doesn't do drugs.
Confirmed?
Yeah.
Oh, that's really cool.
I kind of respect that.
I think like Joe Biden's a really good father.
Even Shapiro said that when
he's
he was
like
asked,
a good
what's
man.
One good thing about Biden?
Yeah. And I think that they need to run a little bit on that because like that is like to like the way that we're going right now, like much farther left. Mm-hmm. Like Joe Biden is like almost right of like what like a lot of like people our age would.
Yeah, but dude, he's way further left than I thought.
No, I know, but I'm just saying in general, it's like he's like just a good father. That's like something you can run off of to get people.
Trump
on
is
right.
A piece of garbage, man.
He's just not a good father. He's probably not a good husband.
It's not like if Mitt Romney like when did Ben Shapiro.
Do you remember when that Joe Biden sex scandal came out that he was cheating on his wife?
Yeah, there were like 4 of them, right?
Yeah,
With hookers
I didn't. Well, it didn't work better because I was going to say, see, no wonder you don't remember because it never happened.
Yeah.
Like Trump's not a good person. He doesn't even stand by like the traditional family values, the nuclear family that I bet a bunch of people on the right want.
Yeah.
And think it's a good thing.
It's actually insane. It's just a culture personality.
Contributes to the degeneracy.
This is the question I was going to ask you before we started this. If you found yourself, however the reason, alone in a room with Donald Trump, and you got to like interview him for like a couple minutes, what would you ask him?
And I know he's going to give the
No,
truth.
you don't. You just talking to Trump.
Oh, I don't know he's going to give the truth.
Yeah.
How
would you approach that? Like,
what would I ask him?
Like 1 or 2 questions. What would you say to him?
I would ask him. Well, this is the issue. It's like what he could just lie about all of them. Like, am I supposed to ask like a damning question that like there's no way he could escape from?
You interpret it however you want. Like, are you looking to condemn him? Or are you looking like maybe it's not even gonna be televised? Like, you're just trying to understand something.
Okay, this is what I would do. To be fair, I'm going to try to make him look stupid. So I would ask him like, do you know how the electoral system works?
And you just let him explain that?
Yeah. I would ask him super basic questions that you would hope that a president would know. And like, how does the electoral system work? And then let's say he answers that, whatever. The next question would be, what is the point of a tariff?
Just like in procedural shit.
Yeah.
What if it like? Are you curious about anything about him? Like, if it wasn't gonna be televised, you knew he was fully off record. You knew he's gonna tell the truth.
Oh well, then that's different.
What would you ask him then if it was that case?
What's the real reason why you want to run for president?
What do you think he'd say
if he had to give the truth?
You think he'd be like
shot with truth serum?
You think he'd be like, I'm terrified of going to jail.
I'm scared of going to jail and want to keep the power. Like it really scares me for the rest of my life. I might go to jail. I'm gonna lose all my money. I won't see any of my loved ones again. I will be disliked by potentially the entire world, and I'm really scared about not being liked.
I'm going to go down as one of the worst people of all time.
Like I think he just needs the power of being a president. That's why he's asking for full immunity.
Do you think if he and Biden got in a room together and were just completely honest, they could understand each other?
If they had to be honest?
Yeah.
Yes. Any two people who ever get in a room and have to be 100% honest with each other would understand the other person more.
I wish that's what debates were. It was just
literally
like
even
talking to each other.
Well, I wish that like
there's no way to do it.
I wish debates would include just like truth serum, but it's not possible.
I think that in order to do the presidential debate, you should have to have like you both get a 6-pack and then you just talk and you watch a fucking football game. Like sit. You guys are both 80. You both like football. Just watch a game.
Yeah.
Trump doesn't drink whatever, but just chill.
All right, let's chill.
Get back to this.
Now, again, we have heard many artists, and I like that we have this example in Hollywood because we don't need to go down the path of Trump derangement. We can actually talk about people that we don't feel any way about, right? Diddy, I don't have an issue with Diddy. You don't have an issue with Diddy. We can look at this case more objectively because people, I think, do get so about Trump that you can't just look at things objectively.
So Brad,
like that person is alleging,
do you think that's what happened here?
Syndrome?
I mean, you did jump. I'm glad it's live and you can go back and watch it, but like I didn't get it. You asked me a question, and then before I could answer my question, you did say like narrative, and I'm like, okay, that feels like the Trump derangement trap. I don't want to do it. I want to have a productive conversation.
She said Trump derangement syndrome. My bingo card has been checked.
About the plausibility that people that are extremely powerful are blackmailing people, and these people can't speak out because whatever they have on them on camera is scary. You know, there's Justin Bieber. I think there's also something going on with him. His pastor said, pray for them. There are evil forces that in Hollywood.
So many buzzwords with Candace Owens. You just chill out, dude.
And at the same time as this, Cat Williams, I know he used to do crack, whatever, has spoken out about this. There's been a lot of artists that have spoken out about this.
She's a debate pervert. She's doing really well. She's making him look. She's doing a good job.
Kanye West has spoken out about this, about the control and the network that's happening within Hollywood. So I think instead of, trying to dismiss these people as crazy or crackheads or whatever it is you want to dismiss them as, when enough people say something, including Michael Jackson, who's dead, maybe there's some truth to it. Like, can we examine whether or not this might be true, especially when somebody is such an underdog like a producer and does something like this?
I think analyzing who's saying what, I think is important. But I think that when we say that somebody's an underdog, so we're going to believe them because they give a story that we might have to like or plays into something else that we believe. I mean, I would just be critical of the underlying material. Like if the sources are a few people, like everybody stands to gain something when it comes to viral stuff. Everybody knows. Yeah,
we already talked about this a little bit. It's like, yes, obviously criticize the underlying material. That's what the basis of conspiracy is. And it seems like she doesn't want to do that when it's people that agree with her narratives.
You have outrageous claims to make. Yeah, and if he has evidence, I think that's interesting.
Otherwise, I would have said, I don't know. It's frivolous. Like, you can always sue a rich person.
But I'm also saying that like a charge is a charge, or a claim is a claim, or a filed case is a filed case. It'll be interesting to see what ends up playing out in court, and then we actually see
that. I'm keen to see that. That's what I want to see. I'm not condemning the person. I'm not a person that believes that you. I would hope, and I obviously have lost faith in the court system in some ways, but I would hope that it works the way it's supposed to work, and that it will take more evidence, and that he has to appear in front of people and show us more evidence and show us more video evidence of what's going on. But so what I will say is that it looks credible.
Okay. When you say that you've lost faith in the court system, does that mean that if a guilty verdict is returned, you'll think it was a good case, but if a non-guilty verdict is returned, you're going to? Oh, okay. Well, why would you preface with I've lost faith in the court system?
Because I have seen some circumstances in which things that should not happen do happen, and a good example of that, if you want to talk about the craziest case that I've followed in a long while, it was.
I think it would be cool if Destiny just shaved this off and had like a mustache.
He'd look insane,
like a Tom Selleck mustache.
Yeah. I think his entire life, though, right? Hasn't he had a beard or like some kind of facial hair?
There was a period like 4 years ago where he was clean shaven for a bit.
That's brutal.
It did not look great.
Does not fit for them.
The defamation one, where the jury.
I think he just doesn't really have a strong jawline. So
have you ever seen a clean shaven Vosh?
No, I don't care about Vosh.
Awarded, she was asking.
You know what he looks like, right?
10 million, and
I know that he wants to look like a horse.
Awarded her for 400, 800 million just to like bankrupt Trump, and her allegations had expired, but they created a new law in New York so that she could bring them forth about something that she says happened in 1996. What is that whack lady's name? She was so.
Yeah, you're talking about when they extended the
Jean Carroll
statute of limitations to allow people to sue people relating to.
And then she got funded to reopen this. They changed the law. And then she got funded by the person who is basic. I don't want to call him a Democrat operative, but he obviously is very involved in
something you can't unsee.
Started LinkedIn is the one that funded her.
When they shaved bears.
The whole thing is a crazy. I've ever seen. Right. Making new laws.
I thought this law was changed in New York a while ago.
No, it wasn't.
No,
it wasn't. Nope. It was specifically after she went on and was doing the rounds on. And those were wacky when she was like, I don't even know. And he was like, what is rape? Anderson Cooper asked her, and she was like, I think most people think rape is sexy. It's not.
What the fuck are they talking about?
No.
You know, wait, you could bring up things like that because it was awesome for people to be able to watch it. But she was
talking about Jean Carroll, and she sued Trump.
She was so insane that even Anderson Cooper had to go to commercial. MSNBC had to go to commercial. So this is not a woman, that was making what any person who can listen to somebody interview about their rape would say are credible allegations.
All right, we're gonna skip here and see what happens.
Or whether or not that person is telling you something that
she's saying the same thing.
Ultimately, it feels good because then it means that you can remove yourself from responsibility. Oh, I see. Yeah, it's fine. I can be a hoe, whatever. But it's going to lead you to needs to come back.
Yeah, and I think that's totally
everything that's going wrong in the society is by people being like told that praying. No, there's nothing content about it's dope. It's cool. This is the new wave.
Well, listen, I disagree with everything you say. I think you're harmful to America. You think I'm harmful? That's fine.
No, I didn't say you're harmful to America. I just said that it is harmful when you do things like that. When you know something's wrong and you still try to like find a way out. And I just think that we can all acknowledge that selling your body is not a good thing, and we shouldn't encourage people to do it.
Okay. If people want to find you, or if you want to direct them to anything that you're working on, where would they?
Listen, if you are a super not Candace Owens fan, if you're like the biggest non-Candace Owens fan, I really challenge you to not believe the headlines that you've read and just watch one episode of my show. You don't have to commit to anything. Just watch one episode and actually.
Great. Thanks for coming on, Candace. We'll see you later.